Welcome back. I'm glad you're still with us here on MorningAtNTV. If you're just joining us, welcome on board. If you're watching from across the country, in the region, that is East Africa and indeed Africa, but if you're out there in Australia, in Alaska, we understand that you're always on board, especially online. It's something that we do not take for granted. We're now going into our business update, the impact of certified public accountants in our economy, and we have a guest with us who will be helping us go through those waters. Certified accounting is one of the driver professions of a stable economy, and to appreciate this briefly, we'll be talking about the importance and everything that is done by certified public accountants. Before we came on air, I was emphasizing to my guest that there are public accountants that are not certified, and the cost of their actions and work to the economy is detrimental. Charles Lutimba, a CPA, is the Director, Standards and Regulation at the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, let's simply take it away, right? What ICPAU, which is the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda, does, and what is its place in our economic drive?
Perfect. To a very good morning to all our viewers. From ICPAU, some people call us the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda. Others prefer calling us a CPA Uganda. We are the institute that is in charge of regulating the standards of accountancy in Uganda. We are set up by an act of parliament, the Accountants Act of 1992, that has been recently amended in 2013. And in the act, we are mandated to really regulate the standards of the profession in the country, but also prescribe and regulate the conduct of accountants and practicing accountants. When I talk about accountants, accountants appear in a number of dimensions. We have accountants in business and industry. I believe at an NTV we have an accountant somewhere there. Those are the ones in business and industry.
Very
we have
certified
accountants in the public sector. We have accountants in public practice, tax and economic policy. We have accountants that are serving in education, accountants in education, those that are doing the lecturing, the teaching. So we regulate and prescribe their conduct. But we also have the practicing accountants. And the practicing accountant simply speaks into those that the market ideally refers to as the auditors. Okay. Our mandate is really broad. Other than just regulating their conduct, we have other aspects that we perform in terms of setting standards for the accountancy profession in this country. We really come up with prescriptions of which standards companies should follow, which standards, auditing and accounting standards companies should follow. And that simply speaks into the impact of globalization. You will notice that of late companies move cross borders. An investor in Brunei, an investor in the UK would comfortably wish to come to Uganda just because there is an assurance that at one point T, they can easily merge or consolidate the reporting back home together with what will be happening in the country, Uganda. So that's one of our functions. We also do the disciplinary, and that is very, very key, disciplinary of our members. We manage the investigation and disciplinary. If you have an accountant that has the issues with you, whether it's in service, business and industry, all their auditors, feel free to come over. We shall have a discussion and then we see how we handle them. We have a clearly prescribed code of conduct. We expect all accountants to abide by or to follow. That's right. And anybody that is found on the wrong side of the code, they would automatically be penalized. Okay,
thank you very much. I wouldn't like to dwell on the people who might cause you to stretch your hand to discipline, but when it comes to recruitment of accountants across the country, especially in the private sector, I don't know what level of collaboration there is, especially when it comes to who is coming forth as the accountant and whether they meet the standards or have been certified. How quickly does the private sector connect in order to ensure they are not getting a person who might claim they are certified when they're actually not?
Incidentally, we do welcome such interactions. NTV, the platform you're giving us is very, very key because it adds on the awareness to the people out there. And what we usually tell the public out there is an accountant is clearly defined in the law. The problem with the media, for you, whoever moves around with a calculator, you'll call them accountants. You find somebody with these choir books, the ledger books, you'll call them accountants. When somebody counts money somewhere in an organization, you'll call them accountants. But the law is clear on who an accountant is. And an accountant is a person who is a member of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda.
That's right.
As per the interpretation section of the Accountants Act. And if somebody is not a member, when somebody has completed their BBA, they have completed their BCom, they are not accountants. They only become accountants once they perform, they qualify, and then become members. So we always encourage the public, and it's good to mention that we have seen these consultations made by the banks, by a number of financial institutions, a number of private sector players. Whenever there is a recruitment drive going on, they'll always check with us. Is so-and-so a member? Is this one a member in good standing? And we have been able to clarify and give that guidance. And Chris, one important thing you need to note is there are certain positions that are tied to professional accountants. Under our law, section 34(2) ties head of finance and head of internal audit in an institution or an organization of public interest to be a member of the institute. So it's always prudent that if, for example, a financial institution, it could be an insurance company, it could be an entity that is defined as public interest, you're recruiting somebody to head finance or internal audit, you need to really check with us whether those persons are members of the institute. Otherwise, if that is not done and you take on somebody without the qualifications, then you will be enhancing and facilitating an illegality.
And that's a very interesting one. If you don't mind, can you paint the picture of the cost to the economy of using or employing a person that is not an accountant, especially when it comes to the small and medium enterprises where and this one is something that is very intimate to people. They choose to trust either a relative to handle the books of accounts. In their thinking, that can be done for the meantime, and then as the business perhaps grows, then they could go professional and hire somebody who is certified. What is the cost of those decisions to the economy?
Incidentally, the cost to that is really enormous for the economy. One, an entity is engaging somebody who is not qualified. And other than just not being qualified, they will not appreciate the mechanics of the profession.
That's right.
So you're likely to come up with poor record keeping, wrong records, and wrong records and poor record keeping has an implication on, say, your tax exposures. It's the reason, for example, you'll find a number of SMEs into tax entangles with the Revenue Authority, probably just because somebody input a figure or did a computation that was not satisfying. So it's always imperative that members of the public, the business community engages with accountants. You can engage with accountants. You can engage them as a consortium. If, for example, somebody may say, I'm too small to hire an accountant as a firm.
Those are some of the
probably
that come up.
You may consider coming up as a group of firms and bring on board an accountant on a part-time basis that would help you and guide.
All right, Mr. Lutimba, very quickly, what is Foreign Accountancy Qualification Masterclass? Good news to members out there that are already serving within the profession. You will notice that I said for somebody to be an accountant, they have to be members of ICPAU. Yeah. To be a member of ICPAU, you must have passed a qualifying exam, a professional course. We have a professional course, the CPA course, that is a local course.
And anybody who has done CPA course, they would automatically get admitted to membership. But incidentally, we have our colleagues that have had their trainings elsewhere. They might have had their trainings in the UK, had their trainings in India, and in India they qualified as CAs in India. But we're saying when they come back here, over time we have been subjecting them to further testing. Because regulation and management of the accountancy profession is really jurisdictional. It's jurisdiction in the sense that economies have different interests. They vary depending on the environment within which the economies are set. So because of that, there are a number of our colleagues with such qualifications, accountancy qualifications, but obtained from elsewhere, who have failed to make it up to become members of ICPAU.
Okay. All right, Mr. Charles Lutimba, I know there's a lot that we can share, and Morning at NTV might not be sufficient time to be able to understand some of these nitty-gritties, but you've done a good job giving us an overview of what the certified public accountants are and what they do. It also means if you are practicing in Washington, you just